Dead Space Extraction is probably one of the most underrated games or stories within the franchise, being a prequel story to the first of the main series, placing you within the outbreak on Aegis 7. In Extraction, you play as Gabe Weller, Nathan McNeil, Sam Caldwell, and Catherine Howell. However, in this video we will be covering the lore of the Extraction crew within the game and beyond. Not much is known about Lexine's backstory other than she started living in the Aegis colony due to her father being an extraction engineer on the planet, whose job would be to help prepare the site for the future planet crack, as many may forget that not only were essential personnel present within the colony, but their families were there too. Lexine may have worked within the colony as well, but this is uncertain. However, she would meet people in her spare time, which was certain, perhaps in the recreational areas such as the cinema, bars, or restaurants, or perhaps just from exploring the confines of the colony. This is where she would meet someone that would become very dear to her, Sam Caldwell. Lexine would be distraught over the death of her beloved after the red marker was plucked from the dig site, infecting his mind. Following this, things only got worse, as the next big blow was the planet crack, where the initial outbreak would soon begin, with some colonists appearing to lose their minds, attacking each other, and necromorphs sprouting from the ventilation system. She would take refuge inside of the PSEC headquarters, where she would wait for a rescue operation to be mounted. A rescue that may never come, or at least not as she overly expected. She would be rescued by Nathan and Gabe, where they would fight through the hordes of the necromorphs, finding another, being Warren Eckhardt. Together they would escape the overrun colony and attempt to find refuge within the stricken Ishimura, only to find that their troubles had followed them here. Lexine, with the help of Gabe and Nathan, would encounter all sorts of hardships, whether that be by loss or betrayal within the dark story, before escaping the terror before heading into the sprawl. However, Nathan's arm may just have other ideas, as the wound had spread the infection all over his body, transforming him into a necromorph, in which Lexine would have to take him down with a plasma cutter. Once again, she would lose another dear to herself. She lost Sam, with those events being out of her control, and once again the same would happen to Nathan. This would have made her feel empty and helpless, as she had to destroy another close friend. Now there were two. However, most may feel this is where their stories would end, as they soar outward towards the stars. But most would be wrong, as in Dead Space, the characters only have a small taste of victory before being presented with the bigger picture. A picture that would come very soon in the Sprawl, or Titan Station, as it was formerly known as. Lexine and Gabe would forego everything that had happened in the Aegis cluster. However, the Oracles would soon know everything about them, as if not for Warren's betrayal, they wouldn't hold any importance to them. This is what mainly had allowed them to become so successful within their enterprises within the Sprawl, allowing Gabe to become a sergeant within the Titan security forces, and Lexine would eventually fall in love with him, which would lead into them dating, getting married, and with her becoming pregnant. News would soon reach them of the truth with Aegis 7 of the cover story. Lexine and Gabe both agreed to go along with it, as they knew that the real story would consume them. They needed to let go of their own preservation, as the government was the real threat. However, the truth would soon follow them and become a present terror in their lives once again, in which Lexine would find herself within another outbreak, forcing her to seek refuge within the medical center, waiting to be found by her husband. However, she would be found by another, Victor Bartlett, whose job was to execute the key subjects, and she was one of them. However, something he did not account for would be the Oracles, who had also sent in 2 agents to find the key subjects and to rescue them for their own ends. Lexine's natural immunity to the marker's influence needed to be verified if it could be inherited through genetics. That is why they needed her to fall pregnant, allowing Gabe and Lexine to live and prosper within the station. They would subdue Victor and take her to the shuttle, but would come under attack from the necromorphs, leaving Lexine to retreat inside of a gunship with the help of Gabe, who had been severely wounded in the battle. She would be able to escape the sprawl unscathed. However, now she was like Isaac, a primary target of EarthGov, to be terminated on sight. This is where she would continue to travel, retreating away from the government's reach and pull. However, this is where her story would end, as there are no more records for this character, which brings us to the next part of this video. Nathan would be born in 2472 on Earth in the European sector, making him 36 at the time of the planet crack of Aegis 7. Not much is known about Nathan before this time. However, he and Gabe would take part in a set of skirmishes on Scorpio 6 within the Resource Wars. This is where he would become wounded in a firefight, but would be heralded for his bravery and success in saving Gabe, effectively pulling him out of the ensuing battle. The wound, however, may have been the reason for his placement into PSEC, just like in our world with real military soldiers. As this is just a theory, but I think Gabe and Nathan may have just been soldiers in the Earth Defense Force before the battles of Scorpio 6, and this incident was what had set them up for their future careers, setting Nathan up to become security for the planet Aegis 7. Despite all of this, however, Nathan would work on Aegis 7, which was unfortunate for him, or at least it would be in the years to come. At the time of the extraction, Nathan would get a call from the engineers down at the dig site, telling him of the chaos coming from Sam's dementia, with him attacking the dig crews within the megavents. This is where he would assemble a squad and take an accessway into the area and would shoot Sam down. However, despite of what Sam had done, Nathan still treated the murderer as a person, a human, asking him why he killed the people around him, telling the other officer, shooting one of your own is never a good thing. After this event, Nathan would reunite with Gabe, accompanying him on the mission to the morgue so that he may collect the rest of the bodies before the planet crack may begin. However, the planet crack would continue as scheduled, and they would soon find themselves within the thick of it as the outbreak had begun. The two of them would fight their way to the PSEC headquarters, where they would be introduced to the necromorph threat and to Lexine. Taking her with them, they would soon find another, Warren Eckhardt, who would lead them to another shuttle away from the destroyed port. Together, they would lean on each other to escape the nightmare, taking refuge inside of the Ishimura. However, they would find that the necromorphs are not so easily lost, as they were up here too, braving the hallucinations and the terrors lurking within the dark interior of the ship. Nathan would soon be presented with a mission that was to be his last, when a huge necromorph form would appear before him after he had sabotaged the ADS cannons, in which, after defeating the spider form, it would retreat and he would float towards the bulkhead door, and as it was about to open, the spider would reappear, shooting a spear into his wrist, pinning him to the hole, which punctured his suit with air leaking out, with the globs of blood floating out of him. Nathan would sacrifice his hand to save his fleeting life by taking a rock saw and slicing through it. He would eventually reunite with Gabe and Lexine, where after being under assault from a large group of necromorphs, would release the docking clamps, allowing them to escape the terror. However, as he leaned back against the wall of the shuttle, he would begin to dream of his recent experiences and would soon reawaken, reborn as a slasher form, who would watch as he walked up towards Lexine, bumping into her. However, his life as a necromorph would come to an abrupt end, as Lexine would make short work of his new form, dismembering him for good, much to add to her trauma. Once again, little is known about the backstory of Warren's character, but what we do know is that he was high up in the ranks of the CEC, with them entrusting their deepest secrets with him, along with being an agent for Unitology, who would soon give him a mission to find an individual within his placement of Colonial Director of Aegis 7 to find someone who seems immune or highly resistant to the marker's influence. His job within the colony's function would be above Carfusia, the colony manager, as he would be in charge of cycling around the workers within the Ishimura, replacing certain workers with more Unitologists. It is unclear of why he was present within the colony, but one thing is clear: at the time of the outbreak he would be attempting to get to the shuttle bay when it would explode with the collision of the colony shuttle crashing into the hangar. This is where he would meet Nathan, Gabe and Lexine, which after getting to know her on their travels would suddenly think back to his mission from the church, believing that he had found the one that could possibly save them all. He would prioritize her well-being above the rest, especially when they would get in his way, which is what he would do to Catherine Howell when she would start to work it all out, why he was to cycle all the workers around, placing at least a few Unitologists in each major area of each deck. He would then start to think of ways to get rid of the others, which would work in his favor when a tentacle spewed forth from the wall and grabbed Catherine, with her pleading for his help, with him locking the door to her salvation and running away to the elevator to join up with the others. Nathan and Gabe would think of Warren as a bit of a coward. However, he would soon be found out by Gabe that he had been calculating an escape plan for only himself and Lexine, that he had been playing them the whole time, which leads him into shooting Gabe. But as all great villains do, Warren makes the exact same mistake. He begins to monologue, giving a leaper form enough time to sneak up behind him, which begins to savagely dissect him alive. However, he had given the church half of what they needed, but they only knew her name. From there though, they could find her records, and then find her if she was to escape to whatever sector Lexine would make it to. They would find her. Again, Gabe's backstory is shrouded in mystery. However, from what we do know about Gabe was that he was born on Earth within the English sector, and that he was a part of a set of skirmishes within the battles of Scorpio 6, which is where he would meet Nathan McNeil in a firefight which left him wounded after retreating the Free Side encounter. However, after the initial conflict was over, the two would go their separate ways. Nathan would look to work as planetside security, ensuring that nothing like this happens under his watch, and Gabe would look to work as security on board the USG Ishimura, allowing him to see more of the universe as they went about their business of planet cracking. In his time of working on board the Ishimura, he would be tasked with going down to the colony of Aegis 7 to retrieve the bodies that Carfusia refused to send up within the schedule to the planet Crack. However, as previously discussed, Gabe would reunite with Nathan and they would attempt to find the bodies to be transported to the orbiting planet Cracker, but would instead find the colonists had begun to lose what was left of their sanity, and after making it back to the headquarters, they would meet the necromorphs. After escaping the planet, the group would have to fight against their own growing dementia, along with the dissent in the ranks, as Warren would shoot Gabe after he found out the truth about his true purpose for being here. After killing the Leaper form that had dealt with Warren, he would escape the corrupt halls of the Ishimura by flight inside of an executive shuttle. Within this part of the video, we have talked about Gabe's involvement with Lexine, so I will only be covering what happens as the necromorph outbreak begins as to speed things up. Gabe would be sent with 3 others to meet with another team of 4 at the Titan mines, where they would attempt to find the source of a new contagion. However, they would find it, but it would be all too familiar with Gabe, who escapes the carnage within the darkness, only to be separated from his team. Not being sure if he will make it back, he calls Lexine to warn her and to get out of the sprawl by using their private shuttle. Gabe would fight through the Titan mines, using Lexine as motivation to escape, when he would soon be betrayed by Victor, who sends a gunship after him to kill him. However, this was not Gabe's first rodeo. He would dispatch the gunship and take another one to the Titan Medical Center, where he finds the remains of Isaac's battles, along with Lexine, who has been caught by Victor. However, he would then see the Oracles attack with their strange telekinetic abilities, who then apprehend Lexine, taking her with them. Fighting his way through the recombinated patients, he would eventually make his way to his dearly beloved, and after dispatching the Twitcher and Infector forms, he would attempt to reroute power to the bulkhead bay doors. When escape was looking to be a real possibility, Victor would return, this time with a grenade, which severely wounds Gabe, blowing off one of his legs, which would lead him into bleeding out on the floor of the hangar after destroying the fuse boxes, allowing his wife and child to escape. Some have said in the past that Lexine is one of the most useless characters, if not the most useless characters in the entire Dead Space franchise. However, as far as we know, she is still somewhere out there, hiding within space, away from governmental control. So if one is so useless, then how come she is the only one left, standing in the crew of Extraction, I ask you? Let me know in the comments, as she has proven to be fearless, taking the harder option over the safest ones, as she helps her companions. However, she is in fact the kindest character we have seen in the franchise, other than Nicole. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then hit the like button. Comment your thoughts below and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by subscribing and bringing in the notification bell, allowing all updates for more great content on the lore of certain video games, and I will see all of you among the cosmos, and be sure to have a good one.